Now, for over 100 years, Lavazza has been one of the world's most popular coffee brands. Its products launched into Australian supermarkets, delis and cafes in the early 1980s, and the company is today associated with many key events such as Spring Racing Carnival and Melbourne Fashion Week. Having worked within the family business for a number of years, Giuseppe Lavazza was appointed the Global Marketing Director in 2005. He joins me in the Melbourne studio for more on the story behind the Lavazza success story. Welcome, Giuseppe.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
It's great to have you here. Now, tell us, when did the Lavazza story start?
Oh, a long time ago. It's a family company, was established in Turin in 1895 by my grandfather, Luigi Lavazza. At the beginning was a very little and tiny drug store in downtown, selling a lot of different stuff, and developing after generation through generation a real and true passion for coffee.
Yeah. Was there a time in your business history where the actual company just grew very, very quickly, and if so, why?
It was immediately after the Second World War. Italy was, of course, exit from a terrible period, and rebuilding everything was a great period for companies. The 50s and the 60s, the country grew quite a lot. And exactly after the Second World War, that was the period where the second generation decided to focus attention and investment just on coffee, building the Lavazza company, the real one, and developing an industrial production and opening to the mass market the coffee itself and the Lavazza brand.
What was the competition like in Italy? Because everybody drinks coffee.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And you drink coffee in a very special kind of way. But what was the competition like?
Oh, it's very strong competition and changing every year. So in the last 20 years, we've seen a lot of different competitors coming in the market, Italian player, small player, medium player, international player as well. So every time you have to reorganize your strategy and to try really to fight, to maintain and to keep your leadership.
So in a sense, what was the special thing? Because the Lavazza name is seen everywhere. If you had to think back, what was the special thing Lavazza did to get such prominence?
But first of all, the consistency of the quality. That's important. And we really had the chance of understand the coffee profile and the coffee desires of Italian coffee community. This is the main reason. And the second, of course, a good business model, a good distribution, of course, and the presence of the products everywhere. And last but not least, a very good advertising campaign that foster the success of the brand and of the products.
Okay, so tell us about your story in Australia, when you came here, and how you established a pretty solid foothold in this country.
We started a long time ago. Of course, the Italian tradition in Australia was and is still very important. The Italian way of life is very appreciated in this country, and coffee is considering products more and more interesting. When we started, instant consumption in coffee was the majority, but after a few years we saw that people began to appreciate quite a lot the real coffee experience. And we started exactly in that moment using quite well this new wave of enjoying the real coffee. The business was very successful due to the help of a very efficient local distributor, and we started to sell our products mainly in retail. After opening a food service market, and now arriving in your country with a closed system, I mean portion cap.
How does Lavazza do in America?
Oh, we have a new adventure in America. We established an agreement and an alliance with important local roasters, Green Mountain coffee roasters, and we've developed together a new machine, a closed system, to provide to American households the real pleasure of a cappuccino et a latte.
Because the Americans need help, don't they? Like, their coffee is not like Europe, and it's not like here in Australia. They need some Italian help, don't they?
But I have to say that despite the differences, American people love quite a lot the Italian way of enjoying coffee. Cappuccino and latte are the most popular way of enjoying coffee in US, especially out of home. And the new adventures of Lavazza is to bring to US consumer the pleasure of these products at home with a very high consistency and a convenient system.
Giuseppe, thanks for joining us on the program, and lots of luck in your adventures in Australia.
Very kind. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, that was Giuseppe Lavazza from that very famous company, Lavazza Coffee. Okay, so we're now crossing to Tom Petrosky to see what in the hell went on the market today. Tom, how are you going?
Very well, Peter.
So, Tom, the market today, up, but why?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. We saw a very solid performance from the market today, up by about 1.5%. One of the elements that stood out, Peter, was the volume. We saw about $5.5 billion worth of shares changing hands. So that's quite a contrast to what we've seen over the course of perhaps the last week. The market under a little bit of pressure. There have been several questions that have been raised in relation to the durability of the rally that's been in place over the course of the last couple of months. I actually think that one thing that has been coming to bear on the way that the markets have been looked at in this region is the Bank of Japan's initiatives, which were so influential on that stock market last week. But perhaps we're now seeing a bit of an impact in other markets in the area. When you have a central bank printing money to the extent that the Bank of Japan is going to be involved in over the course of the medium term, that's going to have ramifications for asset classes in the area. And I think that perhaps, given the fact that we saw resource stocks hit a 7-month low as a group last week, that perhaps that was the reason for that solid turnaround that we saw in today's session.
Without a doubt, Tom, I think resources have been beaten up unfairly and a good long-term buy. But that's not personal advice, of course, it's interesting investment education observations. But, Tom, the NAB business conditions today, as you guys pointed out in the newsletter for CommSec, it was a pretty big slump. Probably, you think it makes the Reserve Bank think that maybe the interest rate cut cycle isn't over?
Well, Peter, as we've discussed on many occasions, we're all about turning points. We've seen the turning point in consumer confidence, a big increase last month. The markets will be focused on the consolidation of that trend when we see those numbers released tomorrow. I think the sense amongst economists is that even though there was a big decline in business conditions last month, it's only a matter of time before we see an inflection point in the business confidence side of things. So I know you'd love to see a zero interest rate policy where the Reserve Bank is concerned, Peter, but perhaps you might have to pick up sticks and go to go to Japan or perhaps America to get that access to the cheap funds that you prefer.
Look, Tom, I think your holiday away from the show has given you undue confidence and cockiness.
Perspective,
I only want
perhaps,
one
Peter.
more cut. All I want is one more cut, and I want you to say I was right, because the Reserve Bank did follow me after I bagged them for over a year, and you defended them over that period of time. Okay, rightio. I'll get even with you next week, and I'll give you more time to get even with you.
Well,
Thanks,
you
Tom.
need a week, don't you?
Go away.